Welcome back, everyone. So I needed a background structure to complete a scene over on this side of the layout. So I started doing some sketches. I then got on the computer and started doing the drawing in the computer so that I could make the structure myself. And as I'm going through the whole process, I'm like, I should probably make this a kit so that other people who need a background structure can get this for their layout. So that is the story of how this structure came to be. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build this background structure. And the kit is available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. All right, this is a fun build. And like I said, I have a very specific spot that it's going to go on the layout. All right, let's get to it. Okay, first we're going to start with the wood walls. So these are all the walls that you'll get in the kit, and we'll just want to separate them. Now, if you're having trouble finding where the tabs are, it's so much easier to see them from the back side. Okay, now what we're going to do is flip these over. Now, you can cut out the windows now if you want to, or do it later. Actually, I think it's probably a good idea to cut them all out now, because once you get the bracing on the back, they're raised up and you could risk breaking the walls. So the tabs are just at the top and the bottom. All right, I'll do this, and then next we'll put bracing on the back of the walls. Okay, as you can see, all of the bracing is glued on. Let me quick go over the walls with you, but there will be a full diagram in the instructions showing you where to place the bracing. Okay, let's start with this one. Bracing all the way to the edge on both sides, and then I ran two pieces right here. This actually goes below it like that, and this piece bracing all the way to the edge on both sides, and then run pieces in between your windows. Okay, now this one, bracing all the way to the edge on both sides, then a piece here, a piece here, and a little one down here. Now I did run a piece at an angle. I even put a little scrap here. I don't know if you'll have enough. That one's not so important, but put one at an angle. Now you'll want to be careful with the side walls. So this one here, this is the front, and you have a side wall that goes like that. These holes are not put in the right place. I have to recut this. I don't know why those aren't centered, but they're not. Anyways, for the demonstration, you want to come in the thickness of your bracing so that those two can fit together like that. Now there's a piece for the other side that has a window, and again you'll want to come in the thickness of the bracing on the edge. Now the back side of the wall, I put the bracing all the way to the edge of the wall. So as you can see, it goes together just like this. if I can hold it. So the window is on the right at the top, and the holes are on the left side. Now this one, there's a side wall. You can see it's the same height. So you'll want your bracing to be back, the thickness of the bracing. And then on the back side, flush. Because that gets put together just like that. Okay, then on this side, you have another wall with holes. They're identical, or they will be in your kit. So put your bracing back, and then the back side of the wall flush with the edge, because that goes just like that. Did I cover everything? No, I didn't cover these. Okay, so this wall is in the front. We already talked about that, all the way to the edge. Then on the right side, you have this wall. So you'll want your bracing to go back, the thickness of the bracing. And then on the back side, flush. And it doesn't have to go the full length on the back. Then we have that one. So again, because the bracing is all the way to the edge on the front, on the side wall, you'll want it to go back. And then on the back side, just flush. Okay, and then on these, your bracing goes on the angled side. And this has a little piece that you want to be very careful of. Okay, I just sprayed all of the walls with this, and it's called Rustic Orange. And yes, it's a satin. It soaks into the wood, and it's not shiny at all. I didn't go too heavy with it. I've never done this color before. I'm hoping that I'm going to put a dark brown stain over it, and it's really going to mute that orange and dull it down. But before we stain the walls, we got to rough them up. So I'm taking a blade and scraping that paint. It's completely dry. I'm scraping that paint off the edge of the boards. I just showed this technique in my newest video, or a fairly new video. I'll put a link to that video at the end of this video. Okay, that is the edge of the boards. Just getting rid of all the little crumbs on there. You want to go the same direction as the clapboard. Now you may even want to go in. I'll show you up close, but doing some individual boards. Hopefully you can see that. Just scraping that paint off so you can see the raw wood. Then we're just lifting some of the boards. Now we'll take our pounce wheel and add nail holes. Now you may want to take an extra piece of bracing and put it under places so that you don't snap the wood. Let's mark where we're going to put our holes first. Let's see, we'll do every 1/2 inch. You don't have to press down really hard like on every single row. Some can be a little bit lighter. Okay, now for the demonstration, I'm going to stain this wall so that you can see what it's going to look like. We're going to take murky brown. Okay, we'll let this dry. It won't be quite as dark after it dries, but you can definitely see that it has toned it down. Okay, I just took the hair dryer and completely dried it. Now let's take desert sand. You know what I might do? Here, we'll take the iced coffee and the desert sand and mix it. So I took the same amount of each, so it's 50-50. You can see I'm just going in one direction. And then when almost all of the paint is completely gone from your brush, you can see I'm wiping it on there and there's hardly any coming off. Then you can do some scrubbing back and forth. I think this really gives it a sun-faded look. Now all of the trim and all of the windows will be an off-white. Okay, it's going to take me a while, but I'm going to go ahead and use the same technique that I showed on this on all the rest of the walls. And then we'll come back and start on our corner trim and windows. Okay, so I've made some progress and glued the walls together. And I put on the signs. Now eventually these go side by side like that, and there's pipes that go in between with those in those holes, and there's straw provided in the kit for those pipes. Okay, next, this one actually goes, it sits on top like that. Next, we'll cut out our roof cards. So I'm going to paint the underside of these white, an off-white, because of the overhang, and then we'll also at the same time paint our corner trim and the trim that goes underneath the overhang. Okay, flip them over and put an X on the bottom just so that you know those are the bottoms. Okay, all of the windows in the kit are plastic, and all of the glazing or glass is pre-cut. So you just have to cut the little tabs, pop them out, and glue them to the plastic. And I use this. So just lay your plastic, your clear plastic, your acetate on there, and then it has a brush. Dip it in, and I just brush it along both sides, and let it dry. And it doesn't fog up the plastic. It's perfect. I love this stuff. Highly recommend it. Okay, so I just put a dot at the top and the bottom. If you do get a little bit too much, just okay. Always squeeze a little bit on a paper towel. You don't want to squeeze it and have a whole bunch come out on your model. And it really doesn't take that much. Now the window shades are just, they're painted from the backside. I just use acrylic paint, paint it quick. Okay, we've got one on the side here. Okay, now I'm taking dark rust, and the stains are from Best. There's the web address right there. And I'm simply brushing over the white. It gives it an aged look and just tones it down. I went a little heavier in the windowsills. You can always wipe it off quick before it dries if you think it's a little too heavy somewhere. Okay, it's subtle. It doesn't darken it too much. Just enough. And we could have done this before we glued them all on, but I didn't know if I would or not, so. Okay, I cut out all the parts from the laser board and sprayed them white. Now, what I do is I place them so that they're hanging off the side of the tape. Very easy then just to peel them off. A lot of times I get in too big a hurry. I should have left all that on the tape and then went over it with a sponge to make it look, to match the rest of it, to look like chipped paint. Now I'll just have to do each piece. Oh well, but if you're doing this at home and you do paint them all, before you peel it off your tape, take a sponge and quick go over all your parts. Okay, I just finished this door. And again, the window shade is just acrylic paint on the back. The door is two parts, and I'll show you. So I sprayed this with the orange, and then I put I stained it with murky brown to dull it down. Then I sprayed this the white, and now I'll sponge over it with the iced coffee, and then I'll simply glue these two together, and that's the door. There's two of these. And we'll get to those later. Right now, I'm working on the big doors that go here. You'll see I got the trim glued on. I painted the inside off-white. Same with this. Glued the trim on the front, and then on the inside, I painted that in off-white. So now we'll make up our doors. And again, these are two parts. Now I'm not going to paint these orange. They're going to be all white. But I'm going to, they're going to be metal, white metal doors. And so I'm going to sponge on, before I glue these together, sponge on a rust color onto both. And then I'll glue them on top of each other. And then do some soft pastel chalks to add a little bit more rust and grime. So that is 4 doors. Each gets 2, like that. Okay, we've got the door glued in. Okay, let's take a break from the actual structure and we'll build the base. There's a foundation that has loading docks. So we have, you'll see A, that is for the big one. And it goes, okay, and then we have B, and that's for this one. Okay, so let's build these. First, we'll start with A. We'll cut out these 2 rectangles, pop those out. They're exactly the same size. And these are exactly the same size. Now, this is actually the bottom. The side with the letter on it is the bottom. So, take your long piece, make sure it's perfectly flat, all 4 sides. And then you'll see there's engraved lines on there. You'll glue that right to the edge, right there. Again, make sure that all of your edges are flat. I'll just quick file all these. It goes right to the edge, and you want to make sure that it's straight up and down. Okay, then we'll do the sides. Make sure it's straight up and down. So the front one goes all the way to the edge. Then the side one, put it right up against the back of it, and you'll see that leaves a space for the long back section here. Now we just have to glue on the back one. So this will get sprayed with a gray primer and then painted to look like concrete. And then this will get glued. Nope, wrong one. This one, the bigger one, will get glued so it's flush in the back. And it's important that the side with the 2 holes, I don't know if you can see that right there, the 2 holes, this side down here, you want that to be perfectly flush. If there's a little bit of an overhang over on this side, that's fine. But it's very important that this side, again, the side with the two holes, that's flush, because there's a building that goes in between. So same with this side. The side with the two holes, you'll want that to be flush. And real quick, again, I just want to point out the engraved lines. So the side with the B is the bottom. This side faces up. And then you glue your pieces, and the lines show you. So you can see the long back piece goes all the way to the edge. And the front piece goes all the way to the edge. And then there's a shorter piece that gets glued in between those. Okay, let's quick put this together. This is the structure that goes in between the two. Okay, then we're going to quick file it. We'll file the inside of the windows. These get glued to the back side. Okay, make sure it's square on your grid. It should be, since we used the 1, 2, 3 blocks. All right, we'll let that dry. And then let's get a gray primer sprayed on these. Okay, so we've got our gray primer sprayed. Now on this, you could paint it an orange color. I'm going to paint it white. Now there's an awning, an overhang, so I want more white to be right where those holes are. I'll show you. Now we want to take a brush and paint the inside of the windows and the door. It doesn't have to be solid. No need to paint the sides because it goes in between these, and then these like that. Okay, I've got the door and windows glued in. I painted window shades on the back. Now I'm just using some pastels just doing some weathering. Okay, next we're going to paint our loading docks. Make sure that you get some on the top edges there, but you don't have to go all the way back because obviously it gets covered up. Okay, and I just simply used desert sand and slate gray, but any light tan and a gray, any gray will work. Okay, we'll let this completely dry, and then we'll take some pastel chalks and dirty it up a little bit. Okay, while these are drying, we'll cut out all of these parts. Okay, let's glue the structures onto the base. Now remember that it needs to be flush on this side. Very important.
Okay, so I'm lining it up with the back edge. And then slowly lowering it on there. Okay, these are both glued on. Now, let's go ahead and glue the center one in. We'll do this side first. Make sure it's flush in the back. Now we'll put glue on this side. Okay, we're getting ready to paint all of this brown material. The fire escapes are a little tricky. Take a brand new blade and press straight down. Don't drag it because it will break. If it cuts all the way through, great. That's even better. But if it doesn't, it allows you to fold it like that. But they definitely need to be cut a little bit. Bend it very slow. And maybe after you bend it a little bit, put it back down and press down. If some of them do bend weird or actually break, it's okay. You can make it look like an old, really old fire escape. I actually had one. I provided an extra one in the kit. But I actually completely broke one. But there's extra, so. Okay, let's finish cutting these, and then all of this gets spray painted with the off-white. And the reason I'm cutting it out of these sheets is so that I can get the sides of all the pieces painted white. If you leave it in the sheet and spray both sides, you might not get the edges of the material. Okay, everything's painted white. I now just take a little bit of super glue. Some fold and you glue it on top. Some you want these on the inside. This is probably the most difficult part of the kit. Putting together the fire escape. It's not so much that it's difficult. I guess it just takes a little patience. Okay, 2 more to go. Important to dry fit them first and see if it's going to work best if the bottom part is on the inside or on the outside. This one, they go on the inside. And you can always spray it with an accelerator. It instantly sets up. Okay, I glued the brackets in there. There's 4 of them. When I did get the fire escape glued on there, we definitely need to add some rust to that. Okay, let's add some rust to our fire escapes. Sometimes you have to tear a piece so that it's really thin. Okay, we've got our sign support put together. It comes with 3 long ones. So you've got one here, and one here. And in the instructions, it'll show you where to place those, and they go right level with the top. Now this one, the long one, goes level with the lower level here, if that makes sense, because it goes like that, where that long one goes down on the slanted part of the roof. Now you wouldn't have to do that. You could put them all level, put it up top here, possibly over here, wherever you want. Okay, let's add some rust to it. Yep. Okay, let's put the black tar paper on the rooftops. Oh, for the rust color that I was sponging, it's this right here. I forgot to add the little supports underneath all of the fire escapes. So I just dip the two sides into the glue and drop it in place. So I spray painted the straw with a gray primer and then sprayed it with the off-white. I then took a sponge right across the top and sponged some rust. Now, very carefully, okay, now without moving them, I'm going to put some super glue back behind there. And then we'll take our accelerator and spray it. Okay, as you can see, I just put on the roof access. What else? I put on all the detail parts. Okay, I think that is it. Let me take the camera off and give you a closer look. Okay, let's take this over to the layout and find a home for it. Okay, there it is on the layout. Now notice I did put some, I put a building flat behind it which needs windows and trim, needs to be completed. I've also put in some trees over here. Let me zoom in so you can see the trees. It adds more depth to it and makes it look like the buildings aren't so flat, as opposed to this section over here which has no trees, and we'll definitely be adding trees in between there. We'll have an entire tree line.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. And remember, if you are a Patreon member, a paid Patreon member, you receive a $9 discount on this kit. And the code can be found on my Patreon page at patreon.com/Jason Jensen Trains. And like I said, the kit is currently available on my website at jasonjensentrains.com. All right, and a huge thank you, like always, to all of my Patreon members. You guys are the best. I appreciate you all so much. All right, well, until next time, stay motivated and happy modeling, everyone.